Some things don't just annoy bikers, they make our blood boil. Clueless drivers, cars drifting into your lane, left-turners who swear they didn't see you. If you've ever twisted a throttle, you've lived through these rage-inducing moments. And if none of this gets to you, you're probably not a real rider. Let's dive in. Number 20. Cagers who open car doors without looking. You're gliding through the city, locked in the zone, when suddenly a car door swings open right into your path. No warning, no mirror check, just instant chaos. These clueless cagers treat the street like their driveway, flinging doors open like they're the only ones on the planet. And if you're doing 40 kilometers an hour, that surprise door becomes a steel wall. This isn't a rare occurrence, it's a daily ambush in urban traffic. Riders are forced into narrow lanes between parked cars and moving vehicles, and one idiot move turns your commute into a crash scene. Experienced bikers know the signs. A glowing brake light, a shadow in the driver's seat, a slight shift in the mirror. We ride with sixth sense level awareness because we have to. But the most frustrating part? When it happens, they look at you like you're the problem, like you materialized out of thin air and ruined their day. It's not just annoying, it's mentally draining. You're not enjoying the ride, you're playing door dodge on high alert, praying Cheryl doesn't kick her Civic open while grabbing her purse. That was bad. This one's worse, because they'll swear they never even saw you. Number 19. Left-turning cars that don't see you. The most dangerous words in motorcycling. Sorry, I didn't see you. Left-turning vehicles cause approximately 40% of motorcycle accidents, yet cagers keep making this fatal mistake with stunning regularity. The scenario plays out identically. You're approaching an intersection with right-of-way when an oncoming car suddenly turns left across your path. The driver looked directly at you but somehow didn't process your presence. This phenomenon, called looked but failed to see, happens because automobile drivers' brains filter for car-sized objects moving at car speeds. Motorcycles occupy less visual space and often approach faster than drivers expect, creating a deadly perception gap. Your bike might be doing 45 miles per hour in a 35 zone, perfectly legal and safe, but the turning driver calculates timing based on slower car speeds. By the time they realize their mistake, you're already committed to the intersection with nowhere to go. Defensive riding techniques include covering the brake lever, reducing speed near intersections, and positioning yourself in the lane where you're most visible. High visibility gear helps, but experienced riders know the harsh truth. Visibility doesn't guarantee safety when cagers simply aren't programmed to see motorcycles. The Department of Transportation, DOT statistics, confirm this remains motorcycling's deadliest scenario, claiming lives of riders who did everything right except trust other drivers to see them. At least those drivers didn't see you coming. Imagine dealing with people who see you perfectly but still ruin your day. And they wear badges. Number 18. Cops who target bikers for profiling. You're cruising under the speed limit, no loud pipes, no sudden moves, and still the flashing lights hit. Not because you broke the law, because you're on a motorcycle. Some cops don't see a rider, they see a threat, a potential gang member, a problem. And suddenly your relaxing ride turns into a roadside interrogation. They ask pointless questions, hover near their holster, demand to search your bags. Why? Because you wear leather? Because your bike isn't stock? It's not just one bad cop, it's a pattern. Whole departments run motorcycle safety checks that feel more like harassment campaigns. And if you're riding with a group, good luck, now you're part of a suspicious formation. Meanwhile, the guy weaving through traffic with no seatbelt and a joint in his mouth drives right by. We're not talking about real enforcement here, we're talking about targeting. And it happens to riders who've never even had a parking ticket. You're treated like a criminal for riding something with two wheels and a bit of attitude. And even if they let you go, the message is clear. You're being watched. But at least they stopped you for no reason. The next ones, they don't stop at all, they just ruin everything for the rest of us. Number 17. Squids who give all riders a bad name. They're fast, loud, and dumb as bricks. You've seen them, ripping wheelies through traffic in a tank top and shorts, flip-flops barely hanging on, no helmet, no clue. These aren't riders, they're squids, stupidly quick, underdressed, imminently dead. And every time one of them wipes out on the highway, the rest of us pay the price. Because when a squid splatters, the headlines don't say idiot crashes doing 120 in traffic. They say motorcycle accident. Suddenly, we're all seen as reckless. Lawmakers eat it up. They slap on more helmet laws, restrict licenses, and push anti-motorcycle policies, all thanks to one moron trying to drift a roundabout on bald tires. Summer is squid season. That's when the "I just got my bike yesterday" crowd hits the streets with no training, no gear, and way too much throttle. Emergency rooms fill up, insurance premiums spike, and motorcycle shops get flooded with destroyed fairings and broken handlebars. They treat public roads like video games, then act surprised when reality slaps them across the pavement. You can spot them instantly, shirtless on a 600cc sport bike, doing donuts in a Target parking lot, GoPro glued to their chin. And the worst part, the damage they do isn't just to themselves, it's to the rest of us who ride smart, ride safe, and get lumped in with their chaos. Number 16. Non-riders who think they're motorcycle experts. You've met them. The guy who's never touched a throttle but somehow knows everything about motorcycles. He'll tell you bikes are death traps. You should just get a car, and that he could totally ride if he wanted to. These are the same geniuses who argue horsepower specs they've memorized off some website, recommend gear they've never worn, and quote accident stats with zero context, usually while sipping a beer and sitting comfortably in their four-wheeled bubble. Some even take it further. "I almost bought a bike once," they say proudly, as if researching something and never doing it makes them qualified to give advice. They've never leaned into a corner at speed, never split lanes in rush hour, never had a near miss with a texting driver, but somehow feel entitled to tell you what's safe. And they love to dominate conversations, at parties, online, in the office, with loud confidence built on zero actual miles. But real riders know experience isn't downloaded, it's earned. Through close calls, long rides, bad weather, and busted knuckles. That's where the real wisdom comes from. So here's a question for the real ones. What's the dumbest thing a non-rider has ever told you, or what's the wildest thing you've had to deal with on the road? Drop it below. Number 15. Politicians who want to ban motorcycles. Some people fear loud pipes, others fear high speeds, but politicians, they fear anything they don't understand, like motorcycles. Instead of seeing bikes as efficient, compact, eco-friendly transportation, they treat us like an inconvenience to be regulated out of existence. Noise ordinances are a favorite weapon. They'll ticket your stock exhaust for being too loud, while a straight-piped pickup rolls by shaking windows. No problem there. The rules aren't about decibels. They're about image. Lane splitting, proven to reduce traffic and improve safety when done right. California's done it for years, but elsewhere, banned, because it looks scary to people stuck in traffic who don't like watching us move while they sit. Then you've got helmet laws, not suggestions, mandates. We get it. Helmets save lives. Most of us wear them anyway. But being forced by the government to wear one, that's not safety, that's control. And don't even get started on registration fees. You'd think smaller vehicles that use less gas, wear less road, and take up less space would pay less. But nope, many states charge riders more, because they can. The message is clear. We're not seen as voters or citizens. We're just noise to be shut down and taxed. And while politicians write rules in offices, our biggest threat is still out there. Texting, scrolling, and swerving straight into our lane. Number 14. Texting drivers who drift into your lane. You're riding smooth, eyes scanning the road when suddenly the car next to you starts creeping over the line. No signal, no warning, just a zombie behind the wheel, eyes glued to their phone instead of the road. Distracted driving isn't just annoying, it's a full-blown epidemic. And for bikers, it's lethal. When a car drifts into another car, maybe you get a dent. When it drifts into a bike, that's a hospital visit if you're lucky. The margin for error on two wheels is razor thin, and drivers swiping through TikTok don't even know we're there. We ride in constant defense mode, watching for that telltale head tilt, the weaving lane lines, the inconsistent speed. Modern smartphones have made these drivers worse than drunks. At least drunk drivers tend to stay in their lane. Texters? They're all over the road, missing signs, blowing past red lights, completely detached from reality. And when they finally notice you, if they ever do, it's already too late. You could be honking, waving, shouting, and they'll still keep scrolling like your background noise. The worst part, they don't care. You're not a person to them, you're an obstacle. Something to go around, not someone to protect. And while hands-free systems exist, the laws are weak, and the culture? even weaker, because somehow posting a selfie still matters more than your life. Number 13, road ragers who try to teach bikers a lesson. You're riding smooth, legally splitting lanes, and then it happens. Some rage-fueled cager decides you're the problem. He cuts you off, slams the brakes, and suddenly you're not just avoiding potholes, you're dodging a 2-ton missile driven by ego. These aren't accidents. These are intentional attacks. Some drivers can't stand the fact that motorcycles move through traffic, take up less space, and don't sit in soul-crushing gridlock. So instead of switching hobbies or going to therapy, they weaponize their cars. You'll see it. Sudden swerves into your lane, door checks right as you pass, or the classic brake check and glare combo at 80 km/h. And if you call them out, get ready for a parking lot showdown with someone who thinks their SUV makes them invincible. The terrifying part? Riders don't have metal cages. We've got denim, leather, and reflexes. So when a driver targets you, you have two choices: run or stand your ground. Either one can land you in a hospital or a courtroom. Some of us ride with cameras now, dash cams, helmet cams, full setups. It helps, but justice? Rare. Because road rage isn't just dangerous, it's premeditated. And unlike texting or clueless driving, this isn't someone distracted. This is someone who saw you and decided to aim anyway. Number 12, drivers who merge without checking blind spots. Blind spot merging attempts create heart-stopping moments where car drivers change lanes directly into motorcycles they somehow missed during their mirror checks. This scenario plays out thousands of times daily on highways where drivers rely on quick glances rather than proper blind spot checks before changing lanes. Motorcycles occupy blind spots more easily than cars due to their narrow profile and different positioning within lanes. A bike that's perfectly visible in direct sight can disappear completely in a car's blind spot, especially when positioned between the side mirror coverage area and peripheral vision range. The merging danger increases in heavy traffic where lane changes happen frequently and drivers become impatient with slower moving vehicles. Motorcycle riders often find themselves squeezed between merging cars with nowhere to escape when multiple vehicles change lanes simultaneously. Experienced riders learn to avoid lingering in blind spots, accelerate through danger zones quickly, and position themselves where they're most visible to adjacent drivers. However, defensive riding can only do so much when drivers fail to perform basic safety checks before changing lanes. Modern vehicles include blind spot monitoring systems and collision warning technology, but many drivers disable these features or ignore warnings because they find them annoying. The technology exists to prevent these incidents, but human behavior remains the weakest link in road safety. Highway blindness puts your life at risk, but this one happens in parking lots and somehow feels even more disrespectful. Number 11. Cagers who block motorcycle parking spots. You just rode for an hour, it's 30 degrees, you're sweating in full gear, helmet fogging, and your back is soaked. But it's fine, you're almost there. You spot the motorcycle parking right up front, and boom. There's a Honda Civic stretched across all 3 bike spots, sideways. Motorcycle parking isn't some luxury perk, it exists because bikes are small, easy to steal, and need visibility near entrances. But to some car drivers, it's just extra space when they can't be bothered to park 5 meters further. These people don't see your motorcycle. They see open asphalt and think, mine now. Meanwhile, you're circling the block in full gear, searching for an angled space that won't leave your bike knocked over by the next SUV that pulls in too close. It gets worse in cities where motorcycle spots are rare and precious. Blocked? Too bad. Now you're risking a ticket, damage, or just parking where your handlebars hang into traffic. Enforcement? Laughable. Most officers don't even know motorcycle spaces exist. So guess who gets fined when they're forced to park creatively? If car drivers parked in handicapped spaces, there'd be outrage. But bike spaces? Apparently those are optional. Petty? Maybe. But the next annoyance hits every biker because even fueling up turns into a test of patience. Number 10. Gas stations with pump layouts that hate motorcycles. You pull up for gas, low on fuel, tired, and just trying to avoid heat stroke in full gear. And what do you find? A pump setup that looks like a Tetris puzzle for SUVs with about zero thought given to motorcycles. Concrete islands block your wheels. The hose barely reaches your tank unless you tilt the bike like you're pouring wine. And if your cap's on the wrong side, good luck dragging the hose over hot pipes and chrome. And let's not forget the card reader, perfectly positioned for drivers sitting in comfy sedans. But on a bike, you're stuck doing the credit card dance. Gloves off, helmet fogging, walking around the pump like an idiot while your bike balances on a kickstand. Some stations make it worse with low-hanging canopies that tall bikes can't clear, narrow lanes you can't turn in, and payment systems that assume you're a car with doors, cup holders, and air conditioning. It's like nobody who designed these places has ever seen a motorcycle, let alone tried to fuel one without scratching paint or dislocating a shoulder. Motorcycle-friendly gas stations exist. Wide pumps, long hoses, vertical readers. But they're rare unicorns. Number 9. Mechanics who overcharge because it's a motorcycle. Motorcycle service pricing that exceeds automobile maintenance costs creates financial frustration for riders who face higher expenses despite simpler mechanical systems. Many automotive shops charge premium rates for motorcycle work, claiming specialized knowledge justifies inflated prices even for basic services like oil changes that require identical procedures. The overcharging extends beyond labor rates to parts pricing where motorcycle components cost significantly more than equivalent automotive parts. A simple oil filter might cost 3 times more for a motorcycle than a car, despite identical manufacturing processes and materials. Dealerships often refuse to match online pricing, forcing riders to pay inflated rates or attempt DIY repairs. Specialized motorcycle shops sometimes exploit their market position by charging premium rates for routine maintenance that general automotive technicians could perform easily. Oil changes, brake pad replacements, and basic tune-ups become expensive procedures when performed at motorcycle-only facilities that maintain artificially high pricing structures. The problem intensifies for riders of less common motorcycle brands where parts availability creates monopolistic pricing situations. European and exotic motorcycle owners face particularly high service costs when dealers use rarity as justification for excessive markups on routine maintenance items. Smart riders learn to perform basic maintenance themselves or find automotive shops willing to work on motorcycles at reasonable rates. But the industry-wide overcharging phenomenon creates barriers to affordable motorcycle ownership. Crooked mechanics drain your bank account, but Mother Nature, she attacks something even more precious: your actual riding time. Number 8. Weather that changes mid-ride. Weather volatility that transforms perfect riding conditions into dangerous situations within minutes creates unique frustrations for motorcyclists who lack the protection and climate control available to car drivers. Unlike automobiles with weather-sealed cabins, motorcycles expose riders to every environmental change, making weather prediction critical for ride planning. Sudden temperature drops can transform comfortable riding gear into inadequate protection, causing hypothermia risks that don't affect enclosed vehicle occupants. Rain arriving without warning creates immediate traction hazards on painted lines, manhole covers, and oil-slick pavement that pose minimal risks to four-wheeled vehicles with advanced traction control systems. Wind gusts that merely annoy car drivers can become dangerous for motorcycles, especially on highways where crosswinds from passing trucks or geographic features create handling challenges. Larger touring bikes handle wind better than lightweight sport bikes, but all motorcycles remain vulnerable to sudden wind changes that can push riders out of their lanes. The weather frustration doubles when forecasts prove unreliable, forcing riders to choose between risking dangerous conditions or missing planned rides. Modern weather apps and radar systems help with planning, but Mother Nature's unpredictability remains a constant source of ride anxiety that car drivers never experience. Experienced riders learn to read weather patterns, carry emergency gear, and adjust riding techniques for changing conditions, but the constant vigilance required adds mental fatigue to what should be enjoyable rides. At least weather is an act of God. This problem comes from the people who claim they're making your bike better. Number 7. Aftermarket parts that don't fit despite universal claims. Motorcycle aftermarket accessories labeled as universal fit that require extensive modification or don't fit at all create expensive frustrations for riders trying to customize their bikes. Unlike automotive aftermarket parts with standardized mounting points and dimensions, motorcycle accessories often require individual fabrication despite marketing claims of universal compatibility. The problem starts with basic accessories like windshields, luggage racks, and engine guards, where universal means fit some bikes with enough modification. Riders spend money expecting bolt-on installation only to discover they need custom brackets, additional hardware, or machine work to make parts fit properly. Electronic accessories present worse compatibility issues where universal motorcycle accessories interfere with modern bikes' sophisticated electronic systems. LED lighting kits, heated grips, and charging systems can cause error codes, electrical problems, or warranty-voiding modifications that weren't disclosed in product descriptions. Online retailers compound the problem by accepting returns reluctantly, often charging restocking fees for universal parts that don't fit as advertised. The result? Riders stuck with expensive paperweights or forced to spend additional money on professional installation to make poorly designed parts work correctly. Quality aftermarket manufacturers provide detailed compatibility charts, proper mounting hardware, and accurate fitment information. But budget accessories often prioritize marketing claims over engineering reality, leaving riders frustrated with products that don't deliver promised functionality. Fake universal parts cost money, but this wastes something you can never get back: perfect riding weather. Number 6. Group rides that turn into parking lot social hours. You show up early, geared up, tank full, throttle hand twitching, ready to ride, and then nothing happens. 30 bikes, 2 hours of small talk, and a group leader who thinks kickstands up at noon actually means linger until someone gets hungry. Welcome to the group ride that never leaves the parking lot. Instead of carving back roads, you're comparing tank bags, debating oil brands, and listening to someone's 20-minute monologue about their exhaust upgrade. Meanwhile, your bike is cooling off, and so is your mood. When the ride finally starts, it's chaos. No clear route, no pace, no briefing. Just a conga line of confusion with riders getting split at every red light. And don't worry, there'll be plenty of stops. Gas, food, scenic overlook, coffee, bathroom, drone footage, repeat. Suddenly, your 2-hour ride is a 6-hour slog with maybe 45 minutes of actual motion and 5 awkward attempts at group photos. The worst? The self-proclaimed ride captain who treats the event like his personal fan club. Loud pipes, ego revs, and endless flexing about his modifications. Group rides can be amazing when done right, but too often they become disorganized hangouts with motorcycles as props. Riding should feel like freedom, not like waiting in line at a motorcycle convention. And while group chaos is annoying, what happens when your bike disappears entirely? Number 5. Motorcycle thieves who target bikes. Motorcycle theft represents every rider's nightmare scenario where criminals target bikes specifically because they're easier to steal than cars and more valuable in illegal markets. Professional motorcycle thieves can steal secured bikes in minutes using portable tools that defeat most security systems, leaving riders with insurance claims and transportation problems. The theft problem intensifies because motorcycles are relatively easy to transport once stolen, fitting into pickup trucks or trailers for quick removal from crime scenes. Unlike stolen cars that must be driven away and risk identification, stolen motorcycles disappear quickly into criminal networks that part them out or ship them overseas. Security measures that deter car theft prove inadequate for motorcycles. Steering locks can be defeated easily. Alarm systems often go ignored in urban areas, and even heavy chains can be cut with portable tools. The most effective anti-theft systems, GPS tracking, hidden kill switches, and reinforced parking, require expensive modifications that many riders skip due to cost considerations. Insurance coverage for stolen motorcycles often falls short of replacement costs, especially for modified bikes where custom parts aren't covered under standard policies. Riders face financial losses even with comprehensive coverage because insurance pays actual cash value rather than replacement costs for older bikes. The psychological impact of motorcycle theft extends beyond financial losses because many riders develop emotional attachments to their bikes that create lasting trauma when they're stolen. Thieves steal your bike when you're not around, but some riders endanger everyone while you're trying to share the road. Number 4. Lane splitters who pass dangerously. Aggressive lane splitting that exceeds safe speed differentials and ignores traffic conditions creates dangerous situations that reflect poorly on all motorcycle riders while endangering everyone on the road. Lane splitting, when legal and performed correctly, improves traffic flow and reduces rear-end collision risks. But reckless splitters turn this useful technique into dangerous spectacle. The problem occurs when riders split lanes at excessive speeds, 30+ miles per hour faster than surrounding traffic, leaving insufficient reaction time for lane changes, opening doors, or debris avoidance. California's lane splitting guidelines recommend speed differentials of no more than 10 miles per hour faster than traffic, but many riders ignore these safety parameters. Inappropriate lane splitting in narrow spaces, between large vehicles, or during active lane changes creates unnecessary risks that endanger both the splitting rider and surrounding traffic. These incidents generate negative publicity for all motorcycle riders and provide ammunition for politicians seeking to ban lane splitting in other states. The worst offenders combine excessive speed with poor judgment, splitting lanes during heavy traffic when cars are actively changing lanes, splitting between oversized vehicles with limited space, or continuing to split when traffic accelerates to highway speeds where the technique becomes inappropriate. Responsible lane splitting requires judgment, skill, and respect for other road users, but reckless splitters prioritize speed over safety, damaging the reputation of this valuable riding technique. Reckless lane splitters give us all a bad name, but the real betrayal comes from within the motorcycle community itself. Number 3. Harley riders who act like they invented motorcycles. Harley-Davidson ownership cultures that treat other motorcycle brands as inferior create divisive attitudes within the riding community that damage motorcycling's inclusive spirit. While Harley-Davidson has legitimate historical significance in American motorcycling, some owners develop superiority complexes that exclude riders of other brands from full acceptance. The brand snobbery manifests in organized rides where Harley riders receive preferential treatment, motorcycle events where non-Harley brands face subtle discrimination, and social situations where riding a different brand marks you as somehow less authentic. This attitude ignores the reality that motorcycling encompasses diverse brands, styles, and riding purposes. Particularly frustrating are Harley owners who criticize other brands without understanding their strengths, Japanese reliability, European performance, or American innovation from other manufacturers. They perpetuate myths about Harley supremacy while ignoring objective comparisons of performance, reliability, and value across different brands. The exclusivity extends to riding techniques where some Harley riders dismiss lane splitting, aggressive cornering, or sport riding as somehow less pure than their preferred cruising style. This narrow-minded approach ignores motorcycling's diversity and suggests that only one riding style represents real motorcycling. The most damaging aspect of Harley elitism is how it divides the motorcycle community when unity would better serve all riders' interests in fighting anti-motorcycle legislation, improving road safety, and promoting motorcycling's positive aspects. Harley elitists are bad enough, but there's an even more destructive force tearing apart the riding community from the inside. Number 2. Sport bike versus cruiser tribal warfare. Motorcycle culture's artificial division between sport bike and cruiser riders creates unnecessary hostility within the riding community that weakens motorcycling's political influence and social cohesion. This tribal warfare manifests in online forums, motorcycle events, and real-world interactions where riders choose sides based on bike style rather than shared passion for motorcycling. Sport bike riders sometimes dismiss cruiser riders as weekend warriors who lack real riding skills, while cruiser riders characterize sport bike owners as reckless squids who prioritize speed over style. Both stereotypes ignore the reality that skilled riders exist across all motorcycle categories, and riding preference doesn't determine competence or commitment. The division becomes particularly damaging when legislative issues affect all motorcycles, but riders fail to unite because of style-based prejudices. Anti-motorcycle laws don't distinguish between sport bikes and cruisers, yet riders often fail to support each other's interests because of artificial tribal loyalties. Online communities reinforce these divisions by creating separate forums, social media groups, and discussion spaces that segregate riders by bike type rather than encouraging cross-pollination of ideas, techniques, and experiences. The result is missed opportunities for learning and collaboration that could benefit all riders. The tribal warfare also affects new riders who feel pressured to choose sides rather than exploring diverse motorcycle styles to find their preferences. This artificial pressure can drive potential riders away from motorcycling entirely rather than welcoming them into an inclusive community. Tribal warfare between riders is pathetic, but nothing, and I mean nothing, compares to this ultimate blood pressure spiking nightmare. Number 1. Cars that pull out in front of you at intersections. The ultimate biker rage trigger occurs when car drivers pull directly into motorcycle paths at intersections despite making direct visual contact beforehand. This scenario combines the worst elements of motorcycle-car interactions: driver inattention, poor depth perception, and the deadly consequences of physics when unstoppable force meets immovable object. The sequence plays out identically. You're approaching an intersection with clear right-of-way when a car at a side street or driveway suddenly accelerates directly into your path. The driver looked directly at you, made eye contact through their windshield, then proceeded as if you didn't exist. Your emergency braking, swerving, and horn honking often go unnoticed as they continue their turn without acknowledging they nearly killed you. This intersection nightmare represents everything wrong with motorcycle-car relationships: inadequate driver training that ignores motorcycle awareness, visual perception problems that make cars prioritize other cars over bikes, and the harsh reality that motorcycle riders always lose physical confrontations with larger vehicles. The frustration multiplies because these incidents are completely preventable through basic attention and courtesy, yet they occur multiple times during every riding session. Unlike weather or mechanical problems that represent natural challenges, intersection violations result from human negligence that could be eliminated through education and enforcement. The psychological impact extends beyond individual incidents because intersection anxiety affects every ride, forcing riders to treat every intersection as a potential death trap rather than routine navigation points. Which one drives you the craziest? Drop it in the comments because every rider's got a story. Hit subscribe if you're tired of clueless drivers and love calling out motorcycle bullshit. And if you think this was surprising, wait till you learn the motorcycle laws nobody talks about. Watch this next.